The revolution? When the shooting stops and the dead are buried and the politicians take over.
Today, let's saddle up and uncover the secret stash of 1960s westerns Hollywood tried to hide away. High-rated classics they didn't want you to see. These legendary films mix cowboy grit with Hollywood flair, proving the Old West had more than just shootouts and sombreros. Time to tip your hat to these hidden gems.
Just like you would have.
Better get a move on quick. There's a river about 2 miles on. You get the other side of that, you'll be...
The channel for westerns and more. '60s high-rated westerns, Hollywood secret stash.
Shoot him.
Well, I'm your father, and I sure love you, so...
If you enjoyed this video, hit notification to get my new videos. Check out my channel and Facebook page. The links are in the description. Comment, like, share, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Okay, let's get into it.
You've got no business laying your life on the line.
And put your hands up. John W. Get this stuff off of the track. Drop the rifles right now.
The Professionals, 1966. Note the omission of Woody Strode's name from the poster. Want charisma? The Professionals has more in one shot than most action movies have in their entire runtime. And that's just Burt Lancaster and Lee Marvin arguing over who gets the last beer. Throw in Robert Ryan, Woody Strode, Jack Palance, and Claudia Cardinale for good measure. And you've got a cast so stacked they need a group discount. The plot: a millionaire hires a team of rough and tumble fighters to rescue his kidnapped wife from some Mexican bandit. Think of it as Assemble the Team 101, but with a lot more grit and a lot less patience for nonsense. Richard Brooks directed it, and Roger Ebert once said it was the best Hollywood film of the year. That's like calling your burnt toast the best breakfast. Bold, but totally true here. Brooks leaned into nostalgia, but also added some grit, making it brutal when it needed to be, and gorgeous when it didn't. The chemistry between Lancaster and Marvin, off the charts. The pacing never lets up. Ryan and Woody Strode barely get screen time, but they make every second count. Jack Palance, he knows exactly how to choose scenery without choking on it. It snagged 3 Oscar nominations and then disappeared. But trust us, this is one of the last great classic westerns, before everything got torn apart and turned into CGI nonsense.
To die for money is foolish.
To die for a woman is more foolish. Any woman.
Ombre, 1967. Ombre is one of those quietly brutal westerns that sneaks up on you. It's based on an Elmore Leonard novel, directed by Martin Ritt, and stars Paul Newman, who's basically the James Dean of cool. He plays a guy raised by Apaches who's now the odd man out on a stagecoach. The passengers treat him like yesterday's leftovers until suddenly they need him to save their skins. Classic Western ingredients: the sleazy Indian agent, the clueless wife, the outlaw kid, and the kid because originality is overrated. Familiar characters, sure, but don't let that fool you. Ombre is a suspenseful ride. Newman plays it cool, quiet, and hard-edged, like he's auditioning for the role of the most unbothered man in the West. Tension, you bet. Boone makes a fantastic villain. The Balsam's good Mexican. surprisingly deep. Who knew? Even Roger Ebert was impressed with the acting. Steve McQueen, he passed on the role because it reminded him of a half-native part he'd played before. After watching, he called it Newman's best performance, and Sean Connery, he said it was his favourite. It's a sleeper hit, folks.
Would you put it out if I said it did?
My mama taught me to remove my hat and my cigar in the presence of a lady. Whatever else I take off depends on how lucky I get.
Maybe it was the woman who needed love.
I've been wedded and bedded and loved and let down. It hasn't always been nice, at least it's been natural.
Maybe it was the heat of the sun. But it was on that day they all found out. Ombre means men, and Paul Newman is Ombre.
Sgt Rutled, 1960. Sgt Rutled is a courtroom western from John Ford. Yeah, the guy who practically invented stereotypes. But here, he's trying to make amends by telling the story of a black cavalryman on trial for murder. This is Ford's way of saying, hey, I messed up before, but look at me now, trying to do better. And it's a much better film than his earlier attempts, like Judge Priest. It's tighter, darker, and doesn't tiptoe around race issues. Ford's way of saying, let's get real. Woody Strode owns the role, delivering a courtroom monologue so powerful it could wake the dead. Jeffrey Hunter, he's underrated, and here he proves it. This was the first Hollywood film to focus on a black buffalo soldier, and Ford took it seriously, probably because he knew this was important. Pacing, lean. Tone, grim. And it's more direct than Ford's usual romanticized stuff. It's a hidden gem that deserves way more love. Ride the High Country, 1962. Everybody's heard of the Wild Bunch, but Ride the High Country? That's Peckinpah's real masterpiece. His second film, made on a shoestring, less than the cost of a fancy coffee machine. The cast, Joel McCrea, Randolph Scott, and Warren Oates. Basically the Avengers of the Old West. For McCrea and Scott, it was a career capstone. Scott retired right after, knowing he'd never top this. McCrea eventually bowed out too, with Mustang Country in '76. Basically the Western version of The End. The story? Two aging cowboys. One sees gold, the other plans to double-cross him. Classic Western fare with a fresh personal twist. Peckinpah turns what could be an ordinary tragedy into something funny, heartfelt, and unsentimental. MGM buried it on double bills with sex comedies and Italian dramas. But audiences loved it, sneaking out of the main features to catch this hidden gem. Re-released properly, it's still a Western classic that's worth every second.
Go get him, Tiger. You're doing fine.
Especially the two tall men who suited their actions to the era in which they lived.
The Sundowners, 1960. Set in Australia, not the American West. Spoiler alert. This film follows a nomadic family living out of a wagon, proving you don't need cowboy boots to have a western. Robert Mitchum stars as a stubborn dad who refuses to settle, while Deborah Carr is the mum just trying to keep everyone from losing it, probably with a lot of eye rolls. The film's stunning visuals owe much to the director, Fred Zinnemann, who refused to shoot in a studio and insisted on the Australian outback. Studio boss Jack Warner wanted Arizona to save money, but Zinnemann said nope and paid the price with 12 weeks of blazing sun, freezing rain, and every weather in between. Mitchum, so famous he had to hide on a boat to escape fans. Carr gave arguably her best performance, earning her 6th Oscar nomination. Still a record. It's a quiet, charming film that sneaks up on you, a hidden gem worth a second look, preferably with a stiff drink.
You get rid of that silly flaming hat. Let me tell you about this silly flaming hat, my good man.
And don't call me that. I'm not your good man.
What do you prefer, boss?
Educate me, Darryl. Tell me what women do like.
All right.
No. Around here, we do everything by the bell. Get up by the bell, go to sleep by the bell, eat by the bell, wash by the bell. We ain't got a bell for that, Art.
Oh, Rube, those Duke's daughters must miss you.
Oh, the Duke's daughters. They haven't heard half the things I want to say to you, but not here. Can't we go?
Oh, I can't leave the till, Rube, not yet.
Well, have I come to this? A cash register as a rival?
I'm gonna stay, Mum, and I think you ought to stay too.
Don't ever ask me to choose between you and your dad, because I'll choose him every time.
Fire! Better get a move on quick. There's a river about 2 miles on. You get the other side of that, you'll be all right.
McClleintoch, 1963. This film made $14.5 million back in the day, which is about $135 million now. So why isn't it a household name? Because it's John Wayne, doing full comedy, that's why. He plays George Washington McClleintoch, a rancher dealing with every conflict imaginable. Ranchers, government officials, native tribes, settlers, shopkeepers, and his estranged wife Kate, Maureen O'Hara. Wayne and O'Hara had a string of hits, but McClleintoch is the bickering masterpiece. Think Taming of the Shrew in the Old West, with dust, horses, and enough slapstick to make even the sturdiest cowboy laugh. Producers, Michael Wayne and Andrew McCallum, went all in on the slapstick, turning this into one of the most raucous films Wayne ever made. It also came at a good time. Wayne was still recovering from the Alamo, and this helped restore some of his box office swagger. This was John Wayne's Hey, I Still Got It movie.
Trouble this morning might have got somebody killed, and somebody ought to belt you in the mouth. But I won't. I won't. The hell I won't.
Years, and you haven't ever seen so much wild, frantic fun. W. McClleintoch clashes head-on with an irresistible firebrand of a redhead.
The Sons of Katie Elder, 1965. Wayne easing back into work, after losing a lung, 2 ribs, and doing his own stunts at 57. The movie's about 4 brothers returning home for their mother's funeral and then deciding to settle some old scores. Wayne didn't just show up, he pushed himself like a dad, trying to fix the Wi-Fi, shooting scenes at 8,500 feet, jumping into icy water, the whole 9 yards. Dean Martin, he said, someone else would have been in bed for a year. But Duke, he just doesn't know how to be sick. The film made almost 4 times its budget, so it was a hit. Wayne, he was lukewarm about it, but it still became part of his long list of hits. Now, people barely remember it. That's Hollywood for you.
And have some fun. It's hard enough to raise children any place, you'd say. But you gotta fight Texas. Mother hasn't a chance.
The Sons of Katie Elder. Led by Big John, the eldest. The gunslinger. The toughest. Tom, the gambler, who would play any game at any odds.
I'm getting out of here.
Matt, the quiet one, the dangerous one. Bud, the kid, who had to be taught what it meant to be an elder and a man.
John, this guy just called Pa a liar and a drunk. That invitation to pick up a gun still holds for Johnny Elder.
Mary, the woman who tried the impossible, taming the sons of Katie Elder.
You're gonna try and find out who killed your father, aren't you?
I sure am.
So you can even a score, kill again. Maybe even do it in front of Bud so he can be proud of his big, tough brother.
The Sons of Katie Elder. Setups for paid deputies who put them in chains before they dared to kill them in ambush.
Fire Creek, 1968. Fire Creek stars James Stewart as a part-time sheriff in a tiny town, and Henry Fonda, yes, that's Henry Fonda, as the leader of a gang of outlaws who think they're in a western version of The Purge. Fonda's crew, packed with familiar faces, Jack Elam, James Best, Morgan Woodward, Gary Lockwood. They cause trouble. Stewart tries to keep the peace, and chaos ensues. Stewart's used to dealing with drunks, not firing guns, but he's good at it. Critics call it slow, boring, and basically told it to get a move on. But surprisingly, it's aged well. Fonda is great as the villain, way before his Once Upon a Time in the West turn. Lockwood, terrifying. The final shootout, influenced by High Noon, but that's not a bad thing. Gritty, tense, and well executed. Fire Creek isn't flashy, it's dark, character-driven, and worth a look if you like your westerns with a side of yikes.
I ain't never had no $5 before.
Got it now, honey.
But in my case, I'm not expected to leave behind one of my men with a bullet in his back.
And you placate these animals you call men?
Certain things are expected of me.
Well, why not do the unexpected? Right on alone. You don't need these killers.
Can you tell us what happened, Millie?
He forced his way into my bedroom.
Who's saying he wasn't invited over here?
I'll say that, mister.
I don't see what this argument's got to do with putting the bullet square in a man's back.
Mister, where I come from, this calls for a rope.
You just hold on. If anything, there's been an accident here. That boy'd never deliberately shoot anybody.
And what's your decision?
Lonely Are the Brave, 1962. Kirk Douglas did a lot of legendary movies, Spartacus, Paths of Glory, but his favourite, this one. He plays Jack Burns, a cowboy who refuses to be a slave to the modern world. It's a quiet, soulful, neo-western about a man out of time. Think of it as The Last Cowboy's cooler, more rebellious cousin. It tanked at the box office, and Douglas blamed Universal, which wanted to call it The Last Cowboy. He hated that, so they settled on Lonely Are the Brave. Despite BAFTA and AFI nods, it's pretty much vanished into obscurity, except among die-hard fans and film nerds. Douglas, ever the rebel, once said, "This movie's way better than some foreign horseshit about an actor chewing scenery for 20 minutes. Maybe it's anti-establishment, or maybe it's just a stubborn cowboy. Either way, it hits harder than you would expect."
So step out beside your horse and put your hands up. John W.
All who would hunt him down.
Shannondoa, 1965. You might think Shannondoa is just another Civil War western. Nope, it's a quiet, thoughtful film, starring James Stewart as a Virginian farmer who wants nothing to do with the war until his youngest son gets snatched by Union soldiers. That's when things get serious. The tone, somber. The pace, slow. The message, heavy. Stewart's a family man with 5 sons and several daughters, all trying to stay neutral in a war they don't believe in. They're against slavery, they don't want to fight, and then, surprise, they get caught in the crossfire. Director, Andrew McClleintoch, who mostly did TV. It's got that old school feel, but with a strong family dynamic. The chemistry, spot on. Stewart's quiet intensity, still there. It's not perfect, but it hits all the right notes, building to a realistic, quietly devastating ending. No Hollywood gloss, just a smart, well-made war western that deserves way more credit.
Do you?
Get this stuff off of the track. Drop the rifles right now.
I hope you enjoyed the video. Hit notification to get my new videos. Check out my channel and Facebook page. The links are in the description. Comment, like, share and subscribe. I am Wrangler. Bye for now. See you again soon. The channel for westerns and more.